Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or if you're watching this on our rapidly growing YouTube channel, that's Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THL staff writer Brandon Peay. Joining me today from the Smith Center is our very own publisher, Mr. Andrew Jones. And Andrew, we just watched North Carolina get a big 101-40 win over, I wouldn't call it big, I'm sorry, it's just an exhibition. I'm being a big hyperbolic, but over Johnson C. Smith, 101-40 win over Johnson C. Smith. And obviously the game doesn't count, Andrew, but we saw a lot of positive energy, Caleb Love diving on the floor. So the first thing I want to jump into is, what did you think about the energy of the team going out there for today for the first public display of competition?
First time most of these guys were together in a real game situation with fans since the national championship game. And a lot of people would think human nature would take over, where they're playing a Division II team. It's an exhibition. The building's about half full. And they're just going to kind of go through the motions waiting to get to the season. But I didn't see that from this team tonight. I saw tremendous energy. Caleb Love in the first half had a situation where he dove on the floor, got a loose ball, gave it up, got the ball back, and stroked the three. And I asked Hubert about that. I asked Leaky Black about that. I asked Caleb about that. I asked Armando about that. They say that the players say that signifies who this team is. Leaky said, look, we left something on the floor in New Orleans. And every time we come out here, we're diving on the floor to get that. And that's going to get us back to Houston to get that this coming season, to cut down the nets on the first Monday in April. So a lot of people think an exhibition game in October, it's not even Halloween yet, is insignificant, but it's not insignificant when you're working to become a national champion. And that's what we saw. And not just that play. We saw a lot of it. We saw a lot of switching on defense, a lot of energy in the switching. We didn't see guys get beaten badly. We didn't see a whole lot of miscommunication. We saw a lot of awareness on offense, a lot of sharing the ball, a lot of finding the open man, a lot of driving, drawing, and dishing. So the mental energy was really sharp. And as a result, the physical energy was really good. I don't know what the rebounding totals were, but at one point it was like 24-4 or something. And they were 12-0 on the offensive glass. So, yeah, Division II team, they're not that big. They're not going to pose that much of a threat in the paint. The Tar Heels didn't treat them like that. They treated them like they were Kansas. They treated them like – well, as I said, I talked to the players about it, and I specifically Leaky, when I brought that up, that scenario with Caleb up, he said, look, we left something on the floor in New Orleans. We left something there, and every time we dive on the floor, we're trying to get it. Everything that they do is to get back to that position. This year it's in Houston, and be the ones cutting down the nets on Monday night, first Monday in April. And to be that team, you have to be a champion in October when you're playing a Division II team in an exhibition. I think a lot of people were concerned, how would this club handle the regular season? Would they view themselves as an automatic, as anointed to be a number one seed and go through Greensboro to get to the Final Four and all that? And my impression, being around them several times here in the last month and then talking to the kids tonight, that's not the impression. That's not the way they're looking at this at all. They're not taking anything for granted. Nothing's going to be given to them. And I've covered a lot of exhibition games before, and they're yawners usually. And a lot of times they mean absolutely nothing. But there are kids out here playing, and the ball just started coming. That was a nice play right there. Someone just grabbed the ball, saving it from whacking me. But a lot of exhibition games don't mean much. And this one meant a lot. I got a lot out of it. As a guy who covers the team, going to get a chance to see Pete Nance for the first time, because I didn't see him at live action because I was in Miami for football. So I think that they were very pleased with the energy, very pleased with the sweat, very pleased with diving on the floor. Hubert loved that. And by the way, staying on Caleb, Hubert said Thursday, the press conference here at the Smith Center, that Caleb is his voice on the court. He's basically saying Caleb's the extension of him. Even though RJ is going to be the primary point guard, he said Caleb's the extension of him. And he said that diving on the floor like that and getting rid of the ball and knowing it's coming back to him possibly and being ready when it does is exactly what he's looking for in his team. And I'll plug a podcast that David Sisk and I did previewing the season. In our Caleb Love one, we talked about that. We talked about Caleb maturing and knowing that, yeah, go ahead and give up the ball because it might come back to you. It might find you again. And that's a perfect example where it did. So Carolina fans should be very pleased with the energy, with the sweat, with the switching on defense, with the communication, with the sharing of the ball, and guys getting on the floor in an exhibition game against Johnson C. Smith. That's a big time plus.
Yeah. Speaking of Caleb Love, he led the Tar Heels in scoring with 20 points. He also had 8 assists.
8 assists, 2 turnovers.
Yeah, 8 assists and 2. Sorry, I couldn't really believe the stats. Armando Bacot had 20 rebounds in 23 minutes, 12 points. It's DeMarco Dunn, 9 points, 3 of 7 shooting, 5 assists. Pete Nance had 19 points, 6 rebounds, I'm sorry. And Seth Trimble with 11 points coming off the bench, and DeMontre Styles with 7 points and 10 big rebounds. If he can do that, he will find his way on the floor. He would definitely find his way on the floor. Now, the one thing that I noticed when I was watching the game is Johnson C. Smith played a lot of zone. And I assume when you play a long team like North Carolina, they're going to see a lot of that this season. How did facing a team like Johnson C. Smith prepare them for what they're going to see down the road?
Hubert said they think they're going to see a lot of zone this year. And pick your poison, because I talked to Leaky about that. I said, was it good to see a 2-3 zone the whole time this early in the year? Because a lot of times they're not going to see something like that for a while. And he said it was great for them because, you don't see it, you don't work it a lot. They threw in some stuff yesterday in practice for a zone. So Hubert was pleased that with one day before game, doing some zone things that he added to the offense, and that they handled it really well from an execution and awareness standpoint tonight. But Leaky said that, okay, play zone, we're going to shoot threes, we're going to beat you from the perimeter. And they did a lot of that tonight. Caleb hit 3 threes in the first 6 minutes of the game. Play man, we're going to dump that thing down there to Armando. He's going to bang in the post. Armando and Pete are going to play high-low out the wazoo. And you have drivers and you have shooters. And this is a very difficult team to defend. But I think that historically, North Carolina hasn't always been really good against the zone. So having the opportunity to work against an actual zone defense and not their own in practice was a really good thing. Now, the length didn't challenge them a lot, but the quickness was there, and that tested them a little bit. And the quickness stopped some of their drives. But DeMarco Dunn had a drive, draw, dish for a bucket. Seth Trimble had a couple of drive, draw, dish for buckets. Caleb had several. Drive, draw, dish, get buckets against that zone. They were, if the zone allows you to drive, there's an old adage that says you can't dribble into a zone. Well, if the zone lets you dribble into it, you could dribble into it, right? Yeah. They were able to drive, make the zone move some, and kick it out. They had so many wide open looks tonight. The awareness was off the charts. The recognition of teammates and knowing where they are. And a lot of their stuff were either passes from the other side of the lane. You could call them skip passes, if you will. Some of them actually were skip passes, and guys were knocking down shots. Guys were ready to shoot. Pete Nance, he's not going to trigger the ball like Brady Manick did. He's not going to get it and boom, the thing is off. He's a little slower release, but this team's ability to make teams defend so much of the floor, it's going to give him a lot of opportunities to take open threes. And he was 1 for 5 tonight. Wouldn't worry about that at all. The look is there. Shot looks good.
The confidence is there.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And that's the other thing too, is I thought that the reliability of Pete Nance, the efficiency of Pete Nance, and the fact that the players fully get that, are in sync with that, he could produce a lot, not get in the way of anybody else producing. And they already know that. They already feel that. They already recognize that. And you saw that in the offense tonight against that zone defense. So that was a really good test for them to have an opportunity to face that. And I think that when Hubert looks at the film, it's not going to be a perfect film by any means, but I think there are a lot of good things that they'll see on film.
Speaking of Pete Nance, one of the exciting things about college basketball is every year we get to see players' roles grow. We get to see new faces, which is what we're talking about on Pete Nance. With Carolina missing 4 scholarship players tonight, it gave an opportunity for guys like Seth Trimble, DeMarco Dunn, who got the starting spot in R.J. Davis's spot, Tyler Nickel, and Dontre Style to all get extended minutes. What did you think of those young guys, or not? I mean, Pete Nance isn't young, but what did you think about those new faces, some of those guys stepping up in new roles? What did you think about those guys tonight?
We've talked a lot of Pete Nance, and we have a podcast about him that I don't think we've rolled that out just yet. So I'll go to some of the other guys, and we're going to have a reserves podcast as well. But But RJ Davis didn't play. Puff Johnson didn't play. Justin McCoy didn't play. And Jalen Washington's not going to play for a while, probably. He's still slowly working his way in from the knee injury.
No need for him to rush, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So the four guys that I was really, really interested in seeing tonight, Seth Trimble, Tyler Nickel, DeMarco Dunn, and Dontre Styles. Seeing Dunn and Styles get a lot of extended minutes tonight. And, Dunn, Hubert said that he'd earned it in practice. He'd been playing really well, and he didn't look supremely confident early on, but I think he got more confident as the game went on. Had a couple of nice moves, missed a really nice drive in the lane, a left-handed shot in the lane. We had to cross over to get from the defender to the rim, and he missed it, but it was a nice shot. You know that's there. That's the important thing. You know that something like that is there, and now his mind knows that his body did that in a game situation because he didn't get many minutes at all last year. He's pretty solid defensively. Trimble jumped out. Trimble's a supreme athlete. Trimble's a terrific – Serge Wicker walking by. Trimble's a terrific defensive player. He's got all the athletic ability you could ever ask for to be a defensive player. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He's going to be a dude that's going to be really good helping out when times of helping out are needed. He's not much of a perimeter shooter yet, but, man, his drive, that baseline drive and kickout's going to be there. You have to defend a lot of guys. He dunked in the lane he had a backdoor cut. He's got like a fearlessness to him for a freshman that you don't always see, especially when he's playing with a lot of older guys that have done a lot of stuff. Nickel, he's got a stroke. He had a couple of catch and shoot threes on skip passes or reverse passes, and he looked totally comfortable. The guys say he's an assassin. The guys say he's a dog. He looked more athletic than some people said that he was tonight. We'll wait and see what he looks like when they play better, bigger, longer, rangier, springier, bouncier teams. But he certainly looked like he's got plenty of whatever he needs tonight. Got a little moxie in his game. There was a sequence where DeMarco Dunn got kind of tangled up in front of the Johnson C. Smith bench. And, it was a little basketball scrum, right? Yeah. And Nickel raced from the other side of the court over there. And I remember Brendan Marks of The Athletic reminded us that there was something that a bunch of players were asked in some Carolina video in the off season, the summer, what teammate would you want in a back alley with you or something like that? Like most of the guys said Tyler Nickel. So we saw a sign of that right there. And that's where the dog comes from. So he's a guy that's not just going to shoot. And Hubert said, I love that he could shoot, but he could do other things. And I think he showed some signs of that tonight. And I'm trying to think Dontre Styles. We know he's athletic. We know he's got a pretty solid shot. It looked a little more confident tonight. I think of that three he hit against Baylor, how much that must have helped his confidence going into the off season. He's certainly athletic, 10 rebounds. He kind of has a little nose for the ball. Hubert said last year he thought that Dontrez one day could be a great weak side rebounder, especially on the offensive side. We saw some of that tonight. So I think Carolina fans should be very pleased. Again, it's an exhibition against a D2 team. But if you were looking for a lot of positives and hoping for a lot of positives tonight, there's another ball over here. You got that. They got as much as they could ever ask for out of it. There's a lot going on here. They got as much as they could ever ask for from an exhibition game tonight.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. No, yeah, there's a lot of going on. Serge Wicker's over here shooting around right now, which is pretty cool. Because I covered him when he was here. That's how old I am. That's how long I've been doing this. I told that to Leaky. He's like, Leaky, I'm sure Leaky knew I was pretty damn old, but they honored the 97-98 team here. And my first year in this business was November of 96. So I covered the 96-97 team.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Seeing them out there and see how some of them age kind of made me think, wow, I'm getting pretty old.
25 years from now, I'll be telling the same story to somebody else on the other end.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
That's the third thing. So we'll be out. I'm Brandon Peay. He's been AJ Jones. Thank you for joining us.